military size to stop developing the ballistic missiles.
Actually a reality. Countries tend to look out for their self-interest. And in this case, we've actually incentivized Russia and China. Especially for Russia, we had an ability to talk to think tanks closely tied to what John Kerry was hinting at the end of the Obama administration, saying, no, jump on. Why I think this panel is important is because actually benefit Russia in a way. Russia can actually step up its production. We talk Middle East is let an idea, a message resonate with your target audience, its own willingness to believe in something and regime. I'm worried that everyone we're talking.
So President Trump decided to withdraw 2,000 US troops in Syria, and after that the Turks were threatening to invade military intervention in Syria, especially for the Kurds. As you know, they consider it in the ground. But Turkey obviously be the Democratic nominee, and especially that some of them we don't know about their foreign policy. Some are new faces.
Largely Sunni Arab Syrians can go back.
Revenues and not being able to sustain Lebanese Hezbollah to where it was before. Everything's more expensive now. We've also seen the curtailment of Iranian ballistic missile launches and other activities because anytime the regime does something that costs money, Iranians paying $6 an egg wonder why. And if you listen to the chants and slogans coming out of Iran, you're hearing no more Hezbollah, no more Iraq, no more Syria, no more Yemen. How about paying attention to us? So the sanctions are working. And again, even if the US is doing it alone, it is still the threat of US secondary sanctions on other countries' economic sectors that has scared the private sector in these countries. So we've time and time again heard governments encourage their private sector to go into Iran.
I think it's going to drive it apart. You know, people have always said that economic and commercial ties between the U.S. and China were the ballast that keeping everything in order. That's no longer true. It's now one of those elements that divide Beijing and Washington. And even if there is a trade agreement, and I know that Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin said that we're on the quote-unquote last lap, even if that's true, and it might not be, but even if it is true, this agreement between the US and China is going to fall apart very quickly because Xi Jinping has a view of a state-dominated economy where there's very little room for foreigners. His Made in China 2025 initiative is based upon stealing technology from the United States. He cannot accomplish his goals unless he does that. So whatever relationship we have on trade is going to fall apart very, very quickly.
It means that most likely Erdogan is going to remain in power for the foreseeable future. There's not another round of elections in Turkey until 2023. He's going to be able to get away with Russian, and which is a lot less talked about, Chinese support. And we're going to have this phenomenon of Turkey being nominally a NATO ally, but doing everything in its power to subvert NATO from inside.
Putin is casting himself as a peacemaker. I say this in quotes because I don't think Russia is interested in genuine peace, and it's not, frankly, able to deliver genuine stability to the region. But the perception is of Russia as a great power, somebody who can be a neutral mediator. What's interesting with that is even with this policy, Russia always tilted more to the Shia forces in the region, the anti-American forces in the region. But having said that, I mean, you mentioned Syria and Libya. Again, these are places where Russia has contacts with everybody, especially with Libya. And especially in the absence of a coherent US policy, it created more opportunities for Putin to step into vacuums. But this didn't start with Trump. This began with President Obama. And what we're seeing now is a continuation of whether perceived or real retreat. There's psychological retreat and there's actual one. So if the United States signaled greater commitment to the region, greater consistency, it probably would have been harder for Putin to make the inroads that he's made. But the fact of the matter is, look at how far he's already gotten. Look at Syria. It looked like he was about to fall in September 2015. It was Putin's intervention that saved him. And now it's pretty clear that Assad is not going anywhere, as tragic as that is. This is a war criminal.